Netanyahu has a problem that Trump cannot solve for him and that he cannot solve for himself. He agreed on Monday to stop striking Iran. His military kept striking Lebanon less than an hour later. Iran had made its own position clear: suspend operations against Israel, with the explicit condition that Israel stops attacking southern Lebanon. Israel's response to that condition was to strike Lebanon anyway. By Tuesday morning, Israeli airstrikes were hitting Tyre in southern Lebanon, AFP publishing photographs of smoke rising over the city and cars loaded with suitcases flooding out as Israel warned the entire city to evacuate before further strikes. 2 Iranian air defense soldiers had been confirmed killed in the earlier Israeli strikes on Iran, and the question hanging over all of it is whether the pause that both sides declared on Monday is still in effect, or whether it already dissolved before most people had finished reading about it. That is the specific situation on June 9th, and it sits on top of a set of numbers that define how far this conflict has actually traveled. According to Al Jazeera's running casualty tracker updated to June 1st, at least 3,468 people have been killed in Iran in the US-Israeli campaign since February 28th. Victims aged between 8 months and 88 years, including 7 infants, 376 children, and 496 women. In Lebanon, 3,371 people have been killed. In Israel, 26 people have been killed and 7,791 wounded from Iranian strikes. In the Gulf states combined, 28 people have been killed. Iran struck all 6 GCC members: Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, as well as Iraq, Jordan, and allegedly a British military base in Cyprus. Those are the cumulative numbers before True Promise 5 was even launched. The Lebanese dimension is what makes the current pause so structurally fragile. Israel's Lebanon operation has been running continuously since March. Between April 17th and June 7th alone, Lebanon's top security official confirmed to CNN that Israel conducted 3,491 air raids, 407 bombing operations, and 6 bulldozing operations, some leaving villages entirely flattened. 526 people killed and more than 10,700 wounded in Lebanon in that single stretch. Israel is not treating Lebanon as a secondary front. It is treating it as an active and ongoing campaign with its own military logic, separate from whatever ceasefire exists on the Iran axis. Iran decided on June 7th to formally connect those 2 theaters by firing ballistic missiles at Israel from its own soil. In response to the Dahiyeh strike, Tehran declared that Israeli action in Lebanon is now a trigger for direct Iranian retaliation, not merely a matter for Hezbollah to handle. Netanyahu immediately tried to reject that framing. In his first public statement after the exchanges, he said Iran had tried to create a new equation by linking the conflict in Lebanon with an Iranian response. His rejection of the equation did not change the fact that Iran has now established it through action. Words do not undo a salvo of 30 ballistic missiles. The equation exists. The question is whether Israel will be the one to trigger it again. The Tyre situation on June 9th is exactly the kind of Israeli action that could do that. Israel warned the entire city of Tyre to evacuate. Tyre is a city of significant historical and civilian significance in southern Lebanon, and an Israeli warning to evacuate all of it ahead of strikes is not a small operation. AFP footage of cars gridlocked on roads out of the city, of smoke already rising from Israeli airstrikes there, arrived less than 24 hours after Iran said it was halting attacks on condition of an end to Israeli aggression in Lebanon. If Iran considers Tyre to fall under that condition, and there is no obvious reason why it would not, the pause is already over before it fully started. Trump told reporters on Monday that a peace deal is close. He said the countries were aiming for a ceasefire. He demanded both sides stop shooting. Iran halted. Israel accepted the US request to stop hitting Iran, and then within 60 minutes of Iran's announcement, Israeli military operations were continuing in Lebanon. Mike Summers, the CEO of the American Petroleum Institute, used his Monday appearance to warn about what the Iran war is doing to the US Strategic Petroleum Reserve, flagging that global production pressures are real and worsening. Oil markets reacted to the June 7th escalation with visible anxiety. Every time the conflict flares, energy prices move. The economic pressure on Washington to produce a durable resolution is tangible and growing. But what a durable resolution requires is still nowhere close to agreed. The nuclear file sits at the center of it. Iran wants the nuclear question decoupled from the Hormuz and Lebanon questions and handled on a separate timeline. The US insists the highly enriched uranium stockpile, which Steve Witkoff has described as sufficient for roughly 11 warheads, and which Iran could upgrade to weapons grade within 2 weeks, must be part of any agreement. Those positions have not shifted since April. What shifted between April and June 9th is the body count, the casualty numbers on all sides, the number of times a ceasefire has been declared and then violated, and the number of Lebanese cities whose names now appear on Israeli evacuation orders. Netanyahu's political position at home makes restraint genuinely difficult to sustain. His coalition includes ministers who want deeper action on Iran's nuclear program, not less. Every time he holds back at US request, that pressure intensifies. The Dahieh strike that set off the June 7th exchange happened despite Washington asking him to stand down. He did it anyway. The Lebanon operations that continued within an hour of Iran's pause announcement happened despite Iran making Lebanon the explicit condition of that pause. He did them anyway. These are not accidents or miscommunications. They are Netanyahu doing what his domestic political situation demands, which is continuing military operations at a tempo that reassures his coalition, regardless of what the ceasefire architecture on paper says. Iran's position after halting on Monday was not a white flag. Tehran said it would resume if Israel struck Lebanon. Israel struck Lebanon. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said in its Monday statement that its missiles had targeted 3 Israeli air bases and that it had made its point. The framing was a controlled demonstration of capability, not a campaign to destroy Israel, which is a distinction Iran made deliberately for the benefit of the Arab world and for the ongoing nuclear negotiations. But Iran also confirmed that 2 air defense soldiers were killed in Israeli strikes on Iran's territory, and Iranian state television eulogized them as martyrs who died defending the country's skies. Those deaths have their own political weight inside Iran, and the new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei, recovering from his own injuries from the February strikes, is operating in an environment where any visible weakness invites internal challenge from IRGC hardliners. The week of June 9th opened with both sides technically having agreed to stop hitting each other while Israel actively hit Lebanon, and Iran watched to decide whether that qualified as grounds to resume. A ceasefire that both parties have declared and that one party immediately violated is not really a ceasefire. It is a loading screen. The conflict has paused before multiple times in exactly this configuration. Each previous pause eventually broke. The question is not whether the current pause will hold, but how long before the next loading screen ends.
כן, כן, רק שמירה.
תראי, לא רואים כלום, הכל עשן, כל הרחוב. את לא יודעת מה זה. אני לא יודע אם אני אספיק לשי אפילו. למה הכל סגור לגמרי. ואני תקוע כאילו באמצע, אין לי דרך לרוורס, אין לי דרך לכלום לצאת מפה.
וואו, 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 וואו. Whoa! Whoa! Abba! Whoa! Whoa! Abba, this is the first part. Wow! That is crazy. I just get... Wow! Yo! 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 Yo!